The photo booth.
Do you know what I'm in? I'm in my self-tape corner.
Fantastic.
Yes,
So
I-
do you take
I
lots of...
It's a tricky one.
But you paint?
No, I'm an actress.
To get home, just in case I
Brilliant.
Get back.
And
But
this
yeah,
is where I
luckily we had a camera
painted
and
the house.
Well, listen, let's talk a little bit because
Probably the same.
when I photograph people, one of the main things I like This is going to be the first of our evening chats. I'm still in my attic, as you can see. This time joined by Morrissey, a photograph that I did many, many years ago. And it's relevant because the guest tonight is a big, big Morrissey fan. And I was introduced to him, really, I suppose, by Julie Hamill from her radio show, who was doing an interview with me and letting everybody know that I was photographing people and chatting to them for the Time to Pause project. One of the callers was Paul. Now, Paul came on and he basically said that he hadn't spoken to anybody for 6 weeks. He was fairly teary, I seem to remember. And ever since then, I think I've probably spoken to Paul every other day, if not sometimes every day. But we've become great friends. As he would say, I'm now his brother. He does also say that I'm posh, but I also say that he's common. That's kind of the little term for south and north, isn't it? But we say it with great love and endearment. So I would like to, first of all, show you a little film of the ups and downs of Paul.
Thank God for that, somebody to talk to at last. I've not been out the house in 12 weeks, and I've just heard this morning, I got a text message saying I'm on furlough for a further month. So my sentence is extended. Yeah. It's hard to explain, Alistair. It's just, some days you just can't talk to anybody, you don't want to do anything, you got no energy at all. It's...
Okay, well, I know that Paul is waiting, and I know that he talks a whole load of cobblers. So here he is, Paul. Paul, how are you?
Good evening, brother.
How are you, brother? How are you doing?
Very well today, Alistair. Thank you very much for asking.
Good, good. Paul, do you remember when you first came on to chat to me?
Yes, absolutely. Around about March, April time, I believe. And I was in a bit of a hole mentally when we first came on. Like I said, I'd been having a bad time with my black dog, or Wayne, as you've now nicknamed him, my depressive side. And I think you could tell on the first call we had, Alistair, that I wasn't in a great place, struggling a bit, and I was missing interaction with any humans. Basically, I'd spent quite a lot of time locked in the house due to the COVID situation, and through, my depression, etc., anxieties, and my physical ailments. So talking to you, Esther, was a massive thing, that first contact we had. And I think you've been a massive plus in relation to my gradual recovery. Like I say, I'm nowhere near there yet, Alistair, but we're on his way. And
well, you've always said that, Paul, and I have to tell you that, even though I have decided to meet so many people, I really felt that there were a group of them who felt as if they could help me as much. And you should always understand that just chatting to you about family values, chatting to you about your dad, chatting to you about a whole bunch of cobblers, basically. But do you know what?
It is out of me. It is a bunch of cobblers, but it's a bunch of cobblers from the heart, Alistair.
You're absolutely right. Tell me what you've done to your forehead. Did you deliberately do that to get sympathy during this
I did
talk?
that yes, I deliberately headbutted the garage door when I was 10 to get about 40 stitches and get a bit of sympathy, Alistair. It's very good.
Have you had that all the time, or is that just evening lighting? The last time we met in the evening, darling, were, you know...
Sweetheart. I think the last time we met in the evening, I was potentially singing.
That's right. I remember you were singing.
I was singing, yes.
Yes.
And you said, can I have a copy of that recording so I can play it outside so I don't get any burglars?
That was, yes, I think I did. Or I think you suggested that. That sounds like your type of humour.
It's a lot of humour when you listen to it, yes. I believe I was singing The Smiths for the Moz Army thing online, on Twitter.
Absolutely. And you know, don't you, that of the first 200 people who came to Time to Pause, 50 were Morrissey fans.
I wonder whose fault that is, Alistair.
Do you know what? That is for someone who had photographed Morrissey but never listened to his music. I actually started to listen to his music and really got into him.
Well, like I say, that's through Julie and through myself, because a lot of our friends have got similar interests. But, you know, it doesn't mean that that's all we do. I listen to a lot of music, Alistair. I mean, in fact, it reminds me, I listen to dance music and jazz funk, and it reminds me of a story the other day. I had a friend of mine, the guy's name's Nick Mercott. I used to work with him, one of my first jobs. And he was sorting through his loft, and he found some cassettes, some old cassettes with hand-printed covers. And what it turned out to be is a 15-year-old version of myself that drew these covers and recorded these cassettes under the name of DJ Pumpkin at the time, because when I was 15 years old, I used to do the Monday night Henry Mellish School Disco at the Boy Youth Club, and I would sell these cassettes to raise funds to buy the vinyl for the discos. And Nick just happened to find these a couple of weeks back, contacted me on Facebook. I said, "Oh, do you know, I was thinking about you, Paul. I found these cassettes on in my attic." And I said, "Oh, Nick, that's fantastic. So do me a favour. Can you scan the covers and send them over to me?" So he sent me the covers over, and it was great having a look through what I was up to when I was 15 years old. The type of thing I was listening to, which was like soul, funk, jazz, dance music, and reminiscing about the types of people I was speaking to at the time, and so the girl at school I had crushes on. And
let me interrupt you because you've gone into Cobblers again. So listen,
thank you.
No, because there's so many questions. You've told me so much there, and what I want to know is, obviously, your son Paul Jr. is 15 himself now, isn't he?
Absolutely right.
So, do you see you in him or him in you?
He's got a very artistic streak. He, in fact, he's been stopping with me for the last couple of days because they're on the school holiday, and I bought him some artist equipment. Just a couple of pads and some fine liners and pencils and some bits and bobs. And I had a look earlier, and he's done some really good artwork. And I think sometimes he also likes to make his own music. I think you've had a sample of that yourself, Alistair. But I do believe he's got this, creative streak that maybe comes from me, and sometimes it doesn't know best how to, to show it basically. So I'm proud that he's like that. He's another big hearted character, and I think I brought him up the right way. I mean, you've spoken to Paul.
Yeah, I think you have. He's such a great kid, and he's so considerate of you and your situation. And I know you've told me that he's even run from his home. How many miles is that to come and see you?
6 or 7 miles, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to ask you more about DJ Pumpkin, because what a great name.
Quite an embarrassing character, that DJ Pumpkin.
Well, I can imagine. But listen, did you tell me a little bit about you as a 15-year-old then? I mean, you were at school. Did you enjoy school, or were you?
I did enjoy school to a certain degree. I mean, there were tough moments, and there were the odd bullies, but that's practically the same wherever you go, even not at school, even in work life, you get them types of characters. But most of the people I hung around with are nice people, and I was a bit of a romantic fool at that age, 15. I was starting to, explore my sexuality and explore my relationships with other people, and I was a bit like, I used to wear my heart on my sleeve type character, where I'd fall in love with people far too quickly.
Yes, we all did that, Paul. I mean, it's like, well, I can name mine. I mean, my first love was Sally Relton. Sally, hello, if you're watching.
Hello, Sally.
And that was actually in Argentina, where my parents lived, and I was probably only 9 years old or something when I kind of first fell in love with Sally Relton, the beautiful blonde.
Fast starter, so you beat me to it.
Well, yeah, but listen, I was, just kind of like a silly peck on the cheek under the swimming pool water, I think it was. But that seemed to me quite romantic. There was a guy called, well, we used to call him Piggy McWilliams, probably nastily. But
Piggy McWilliams.
Yeah,
Piggy. How upper class is that nickname, honestly?
Isn't it Piggy McWilliams? Isn't it funny how you can, I can't remember who I met yesterday, but I can always remember people from your distant past. It's like at school I cheated at Latin because I was terrible at Latin. So I used to get something like 40.
Did they still do Latin in the 1930s, Alistair?
Well, probably not now, but in those days they used to. Stop being so cheeky.
Oh, sorry.
You brother.
Yes, brother.
In those days when we used to do Latin, I used to get about 14%, and there was this guy called Monker, and he sat in front of me in the end of school exam, and because he was so fantastic at Latin and everything else, he finished within about 20 minutes and put his paper to the left, and I foolishly copied it all, including the mistakes. So he got 98% and I got 97. But
That's fantastic.
I remember clearly being...
Is that good if you spelled your name wrong?
Probably. But I remember clearly getting this kind of notification. I was playing soccer or something, and someone said, Morrison's got 97% with an asterisk, Morrison's paper under scrutiny. And I got whacked. I got the cane. Those are the days of the cane, Paul.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Tell when you were 15 then, what era is this?
1980s.
1980s, all right. So you were really into all sorts of music that was out there, weren't you? I
was.
Yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't Morrissey at the time either, to be fair. Morrissey came much later.
Yeah.
Morrissey came due to an accident, really, but we can cover that later. Well,
yeah, well, just to let you all know that we're planning to have many Talking Cobblers conversations with Paul, because
Because he's so good at it.
He is so good at it.
Thank you.
But also he's got a lot to say of huge value from the heart, as he actually said himself. And it's really refreshing to get someone who can speak up in that way, because it's actually very good for us all to know that we can find our demons and deal with them, can't we, Paul?
Yeah, what we're doing. Thanks to you, Alistair, for giving me a bit of impetus to look at that sort of thing.
Well, I tell you what, Paul. You keep on saying that, but it's not that at all. Actually, what I found out during this period of time, that, you know, my great love is photography, but actually what I have felt is most important for Time to Pause has been the conversations. And, you know, the value of people speaking to each other is huge. So, and learning about each other. I mean, you know, I even, maybe we should explain Wayne, because you mentioned bullies at school, and one of them was a guy called Wayne. And so when we were chatting and you felt down, we nicknamed your...
Although, can I just say for the record, I actually bumped into that character about a year ago, and I swear to God, he was the nicest bloke you'd ever want to meet. So that goes to show that you can't tarnish people with the same brush for the rest of their life, and people do change.
Did you not wish to, the side of you that is depressed, do you feel that side should no longer be called Wayne then? Should we find another name?
It was the name we came up with at the time, wasn't it, Alistair's? But
it was, but it was based on I said to you, who bullied you at school, and you said Wayne. So I'm sticking to Wayne, even though he's nice now.
He's nice now.
Yeah, all right. And so, you know, some days you were Paul and some days you were Wayne. And I have to tell you, on the days that you were Wayne, I knew before you even opened your mouth. There was something about just your manner and everything. In fact, you cancelled a couple of chats. And
well, some days I couldn't talk at all, Alistair, and some people don't realise that when you're in the throes of your black dog moments with severe anxiety and depression, sometimes you can't get out of bed.
Yeah.
Having a conversation seems like the most difficult thing in the world. And I think you've seen firsthand, talk to me on a regular basis, Alistair, that sometimes you have to pry the conversation out to me.
Yeah.
But because you're such a kind character, you have the ability to have patience with me, and you always seem to get me to open up to you.
Well, I think it's just we chat, don't we? And we got something to say on any one particular day. And it's, you know, I kind of tell you some of my news and some of the people that I've met. And
well, some of the news you told me, Alistair, and I think I've got issues. And you told me about worldly issues where people have had to deal with the COVID situation and deal with poverty and not knowing where the next meal's coming from. And it makes you look at your own situation and think, do you know what? This feels really bad to me, but in the whole scheme of things, it's not really that bad.
Well, do you know what, Paul? I know you're saying that, but I've also spoken to people with huge advantages in life. You know, they haven't really suffered too much because of their location or their space, or they've been out in the country, they've been able to go for walks, they work from home anyway. But actually, they're still suffering mentally because of this whole idea of uncertainty and anxiety around that, and not being able to be with family and all of the things that go with that. So yes, you're right, because you know you very kindly did a translation of some Bangladeshi mothers, because we spoke to one who had a 15-year-old son, and I thought it would be really special if you understood that there was some people on the other side of the world who not only were dealing with COVID, but also dealing with the fact that they were flooded out too. So it was just an opportunity for you to understand that there was a lot of people around who are suffering badly from COVID. Yeah, so Paul, yeah, there's so many people who are affected by COVID, but being in isolation, for me anyway, has been a big opportunity to kind of get quite nostalgic for all sorts of things from the past. And music does that a lot. I've been listening to a lot of music. So, you know,
Music.
as DJ Pumpkin, did you, when you were playing some of that stuff,
Yeah.
did it remind you of anybody?
Oh, it certainly did. I mean, I had a few crushes at school, one being Kerry Landon, Helen Wyllie, but another one was a fantastic young lady called Chantal Stevens. And she was my best customer for my jazz funk cassettes. I can remember she purchased the most tapes. So I wonder whether she's still having them tapes now. I have no idea at all.
Well, you know what? It's interesting you mention that, because actually, one of the things that we're very good at is to find people. So Chantal Stevens is actually with us now. So we're going to have a little chat with her. So here you go, Paul. This is Chantal.
That's fantastic. Hey
Well,
there,
say
Chantal.
hello.
I'm all nervous now.
Hi, Chantal. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Listen, Chantal, we spoke the other day, obviously, because we traced you and we found you, and we just wanted to find an opportunity to talk to you about what's happened to you since you were 15 years old. Were you 15 at the time, or were you older?
Yes.
Yeah?
Well, yeah, I think, yes. 15, maybe nearly 16, but yeah, 15.
Yeah. So, Paul, Chantal has actually been on all the time, and she's been listening to us. So you said the right thing. Well done, you.
Well, can I just say, yeah, that was lucky, wasn't it, to be fair? I was going to say, she's still got them fantastic blue eyes, I remember.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at her right now. Can you not see her too?
She's, well, put it this way, she's better looking than you, Alistair.
Do you know what? You're absolutely right.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
With all due respect.
Often there's
I'll leave them on, I suppose, you.
Listen, guys, I mean, for goodness sake, I'm just going to let you sort of say hello and chat to each other and find.
You're right, Chantal.
Hello. Hello.
So, Chantal.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well. Nice to see you. Do you remember our times at school?
Yes. I
Do you remember computer studies? I'm sure it was you that used to doodle on my hands. And do you know something? I still know most of them swear words now, Chantal. But you taught me how to spell them properly.
Oh, I'll give myself a little bit better credit than I thought.
No, actually, to be fair, you used to draw some nice little motifs and stuff. You was very artistic.
Yeah. Yes, I hope so.
And I was very tactile.
Pardon?
I was very tactile. I'd sit there and eat it for hours. Even through the next computer studies lesson, we weren't supposed to be in the second one.
Yes. No, I know. We used to cheat at that one, didn't we?
We did, bless us. And you were my best customer.
Yes.
And can I say...
I used to like your tapes. Mantronics, for me, was it.
Mantronics, yeah.
Most
I've made a new version of Jazz Funk, and I've actually put Mantronics on there, especially for you, Chantal, you know.
Really?
So you have to give that a wee listen when you get the chance.
Okay. Yes.
And, can I apologise, because I've had to live with the guilt for 35 years. Do you remember that night you came round to my house, and it was probably it was a winter evening, and you came round to purchase about 5 or 6 tapes, and I didn't even have the courtesy to let you in, did I?
I do recall.
I just did the transaction and more or less shut the door in your face.
Can I just say that that's okay?
Well, I'm glad you said that, because that guilt has been left with me for 35 years.
If I were to say that, if anything, I remember you, because I can remember being at that school at that time, and yes, there were some bullies. There were quite a lot. but I remember you as being somebody who was kind.
Well, that's a really nice thing to say, Santo. I'll stop you, set me off.
So if there was anything I would want to say, I would want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you. I mean, do you know something? When you're 15 and you've got lots of emotions flying around your head and you go through puberty and everything seems confusing, and you realise years later that some of the things you said when you were a 15-year-old, you're horrified. And you're thinking, I could have been such a nice person. But the reason that I'm so happy is the fact that you just recalled that even then I was a nice person.
Yeah, you were. One of the nicest, if I'm honest.
Well, thank you very much. I like to think my heart's in the right place.
You
And
had it on your sleeve, didn't you?
my heart was on my sleeve, yes.
Is it there
Although
now?
I didn't tattoo it on my arm, with a fountain pen like the Smiths might have done, but in fact, I did actually.
I once knitted a woolly jumper that had hearts on its sleeve.
Well, I never got it for Christmas.
No, I know it might not have been your thing. It was a bit too woolly.
Was it a bit too woolly?
Yeah.
Yes, and it's probably quite right that you didn't, as a matter of fact, because it might have itched a bit.
It would have.
Yeah, if you insisted on doing it for school.
It would have, yeah.
Yes.
Can I interrupt you for a minute? Because it started very beautifully, and now you're talking cobblers, both of you. And woolly jumpers and stuff. I mean, for goodness sake. No, it's getting to that stage. So I'm going to ask, Chantal, tell me a little bit about what's happened to you since you were that 15-year-old. Are you happy now? I know we're in COVID, but are you in a good place?
I would say, particularly lockdown has been really hit and miss. I didn't like it initially because I enjoyed people. I enjoyed social interaction and being with people. So to be in lockdown was really, really hard. Really, really hard. To just not see people. I have a partner, so I saw him, but then after a few weeks of lockdown, he went back to work. So then I was left on my own. And for the first week, I think I cried just because I couldn't cope. I had the radio on, but I still found it really, really hard to not see somebody, to not talk to somebody all day. And then my partner is really quiet, so that's hard. But then after possibly a week, I started to realise that there was somebody there, and that somebody was actually me. And what better an opportunity to deal with any amount of depression than to look at yourself?
It's interesting you say that because, in a way, there's quite a lot of fortitude in doing that. I think a lot of people who've been in their own spaces are almost beginning to feel slightly anxious about opening the front door and being out in that world again. So, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? You might be on your own, you're feeling alone. We have the company of each other through technology. But other than that, we don't have the tactile, we don't have the opportunity to be able to just hug someone. And, that's something that a lot of people have missed. But on the other hand, is it a good thing that we do begin to search a little bit more about ourselves and find a little bit more good in us, or get rid of some demons, or do some of those things?
I think I've managed to do most of those things. I've managed to look at parts of myself that I didn't particularly like, and managed to figure out that maybe in the light of all those things, I'm still okay. There's still parts of me, well, there's not parts of me that actually I am still, I am a kind soul. And it's been really sort of kind of a roller coaster, in where I felt so very, very isolated, and then I felt for the first time in 50 years, as Paul will know, we celebrate our 50th this year.
That's right. But very good, Mrs. Chantal looks 30.
It's took me 50 years to find out that actually I don't mind being with me. It might take me a bit longer to figure out that I don't mind being with other people now, because I've gotten quite used to being on my own.
So Paul, can I ask you, have you figured out how to be with yourself?
No. Yeah, well, that's the truthful answer. I'm working on it, and after this conversation, I'm going to have another conversation with Chantal and see how she can help me to work with being happy with myself. That's something you help me to do, Alistair. It's something that my friends, the ones that really do care, help me to learn how to accept myself and to live with myself on a daily basis, because that's something I really struggle with. So it's a work in progress. Like I said, I could lie to the camera and tell our viewers that, oh yes, everything is rosy, but it's not.
But the reality is that you must never do that, because the minute you start to hide it is the minute that you get much deeper into your own demons. You have to express it. And you
put it this way, if you'd have asked me to do this, you asked me to do this 6 months ago, I'd have had a nervous breakdown, turned into a human jelly.
Yeah.
So I've gained enough confidence to.
What flavour?
Probably raspberry. You should turn to a psychologist now, Alistair. What flavour jelly would you be?
I was trying to lighten the mood.
And would you have bits in?
What toppings?
Well, raspberries have got
fruit in it.
I beg pardon?
Does it have fruit?
Well, it definitely have fruit in it. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out, Chantal. Chantal obviously remembers more about me than I thought.
No, Paul, come on. Now tell me about this kind of feeling about seeing each of yourselves at 50, because it's a kind of strange thing, isn't it? You kind of have this memory of yourself at an age. We all in our minds still think that we're young and that we look like then, and we can't possibly be grey. I've still got red in my hair or whatever, you know. And then
I'd be more worried about the red in my eyes than the red in anything else.
I think mine and Chantal's eyes have both aged really well.
Yeah,
you know what?
Yeah.
Yes.
Why is it that I'm never included in these conversations? Both of you, your eyes have aged well. Mind you, I am 13 years older than both of you, so that's allowed, isn't it?
Alistair,
I have the droop.
I beg pardon?
Alistair, you know the eyes, the actual eyes do not age.
Is that right?
They'll still be, no matter what surrounds it, it's still the window to the soul.
Is that right? I didn't know that. Well, that's really interesting as a photographer. I mean, you know, I always say that to find a true photograph, you can see it in the eyes, and it is absolutely true.
Well, you alluded earlier, Alistair, you said in our first conversation, you could see my eyes and see my thoughts or my mood through my eyes.
Well, through your eyes especially, but through your demeanor and also your actually the fact that you are a very engaging man. You look at the camera all the time. You don't you don't divert your gaze. You do look at people, and that's really lovely. I like that, because you are saying, this is me. The only person who doesn't realize that, Paul, is you.
Correct.
And you see that probably in Paul now that you've seen him again.
His eyes don't look any different to how they did when he was 15.
Yeah.
What's like this?
Tell me about.
He's got very, very blue eyes as well. You've got
right.
very, very blue eyes.
All right, you two, stop it. No, come on, now it's getting all.
She's a married lady. I can't start flirting now. He might watch it later. I'm only joking, brother.
Do you like this? Do you like this moment of nostalgia?
Yes, I do.
It is.
I think
it is quite special, isn't it, to kind of think that for 35 years of not seeing each other, you've drifted off into different directions. You've done different things. You've had families, all the things that have gone on, and then you can come together in this way. And you know, I hope that you will be in touch with each other and find a lot to talk about and find lots of music that you still love.
Definitely. I'm up for it if you are, Chantal.
Most definitely.
There you go. What are you drinking, Paul?
Oh, that's for medicinal purposes.
I missed that. What was that?
It's a glass of red wine.
Was?
Well, I did have 2 bottles of red wine, but unfortunately, like typical Paul Wardle, I bought the 2 bottles in from the Iceland delivery earlier, put them on the side, and then one of the bottles in the bag decided to roll off the counter and smash all over the kitchen floor. So, as the glass was in the bag, I thought I'd hang the wine glass under the bag, try and sieve out as much of the red wine as I could get. So this is the residue of the broken bottle.
So what make is that then? Is it sort of Merlot and a string bag?
It's 22 Merchant Street kitchen floor edition.
Yeah, that's in Ireland, by the way, everybody.
That's in Ireland, yeah, before I give away my whereabouts.
Exactly. You just give his address.
You could have one of those Wyllie mops, couldn't you, and just like soak it up and wring it out.
I could do something other than that, to be fair, but never mind. I'm surprised I didn't catch it because I was that quick trying to grab it. I'm surprised it hit me on the back of the head going down, to be honest. Anything else with a bottle of wine?
I'm just going to ask Max. Max, what time are we up to?
He's asleep.
He's on
He's
mute.
asleep.
Max.
Nodded off.
Max.
Sorry, I didn't take the mute off.
That's all right. What time are we up to?
I thought I was going to say I didn't press record.
We're what?
We're at 40 minutes. We're at 40 minutes.
Okay. Let's carry on. Let's carry on because we can always.
I say, does it feel like a week, Alistair?
No. I'm really enjoying this. I'm really enjoying this kind of moment of you both.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
How is lockdown for you, Alistair?
For me.
Because I can see your room looks really quite small. How is it for you?
This is the attic of a studio, and I've been here for the last, well, probably about 6 months because I made a decision that I would do this project from here, which is where all my equipment is. So it's been really tough, to be frank. I mean, I thought that I could cope with it in a way which I would have the company of 1,000 others. I mean, one of the things that I've learned is that I don't like the sound of my own voice after having listened to myself recorded so often. But I suppose that's just because you get to those moments where you are in your own company all the time. And in the similar way to Paul, I just really enjoyed opening up the camera to someone else who I could speak to. I think part of the problem with my anxiety, I suppose, in terms of my age and COVID, is simply that a lot of the people I've been speaking to are frontline health workers who have been through the mill. And I've spoken to people in Calcutta and Bangladesh and, I mean, over 100 countries, but there are spaces, including the UK now. I mean, Liverpool, just recently, Manchester, I think Nottingham is quite high.
Yeah.
And all of the nurses and doctors I've spoken to have said that they've never seen their own colleagues look so anxious about it all, and so scared was one of the words he used, because they just didn't understand it. So knowing that means that I'm ultra cautious, which also makes me a little bit more of a hermit. So I don't go out very much. And I kind of have used this as a means of company. But it has taught me a lot about myself. And I'm beginning to listen a lot more to myself and find the things about myself that I've never done particularly well, and potentially have always slightly hidden behind what I know that I do well, which is, photography and everything else. But it's been pretty tough, to be frank. I can't deny that, but at the same time, it's also been rewarding in a similar way to you, because I do think I've learned quite a lot about myself. And I don't even think I know I... Sorry, say that again.
I think perhaps we would have never learned that.
I think you're
learn that piece about yourself. I've learned a piece about myself that I think maybe I wouldn't have done otherwise.
Yeah, and there were certain things that were part of my life which were I was very aware that I always felt that I was the
Can I just interrupt?
Yeah.
You and Paul have got the same glasses.
No, we have. Oh, have we? As we look at each other.
Lean forward.
Darling.
Yes, we can.
You've just got new ones, haven't you?
Yeah, pretty much. You have.
Well, Alistair does the basic style on me.
Is this the moment where we do the advert for Specsavers then?
Yeah, you have.
Yes.
You have. Look, you've got the same sort of facial thing going on.
Yeah, we
well,
do.
Alistair, he takes his style from me, I think, Chantel.
Completely.
You know what?
He does.
You know what?
I trade that shirt for
what
him.
happens to people when they spend too much time together? You become like one another.
Well, we're related now. We're all brothers.
We are brothers, definitely.
Yeah.
Chantel, I'm going to get.
I just noticed that.
Chantel, just for a second, because you began to get a little bit bitmap for a second.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but so let's just kind of recap a second. So basically, Chantal, you're saying that in chatting to each other, that we've become each other, have we?
I think so.
In looks and in manner and in. Do I have a heart on my sleeve?
Yeah, I think possibly you do.
Thank you.
Alistair's not quite as posh as me, though.
No.
No.
Tell me about Paul. When you first met me,
yes,
I know that Julie Hamill takes the mickey out of me, takes the piss. In fact,
she does. She says you've got a very silky voice. She
doesn't even say that. She imitates from her Scottish accent, heavily Scottish. She goes straight into pot. I hope you're listening, Julie Hamill.
Yeah, she can.
I find it very endearing.
It is endearing. Yes, she can do one impression though. She does an English voice. She does a Cockney voice, and that's the only one she can do.
Well, she's trying to do my voice now, which is the posh voice. So when you first heard me, did you think he's he's kind of a posh Londoner? Do you get that? Is there still that in our society? Do we get
Well,
that
you know
based
what?
on accent?
When you did come on, I thought, oh, he lives in Windsor. He's been popping around with Kate Middleton last Thursday. And now he's telling me it's one of his old university buddies called Porky Minster or something. And you just, honestly, you asked for it, Alistair. I mean, your friends at school were Porky Minster, mine were Tosspot Trevor or something. And you think, it's not quite the same, is it, to be fair? And then you used to take the mickey out of me for being so common. And I said, do I say...
Come on, that's not true at all, actually.
You said I say to be fair to many times. And I said, is that due to my restricted vocabulary, Alistair? And you said, well, yes, it is actually.
Actually, I just really love the way you say, to be fair. To be fair, I've started to say it myself.
I do get that from my friend Chris, though, to be fair, and it's a habit.
Chantal, are we talking Cobblers again?
Absolutely, yes.
I like it. I like a whole bunch of Cobblers.
Yeah,
well,
you know
there's no answer to that one, is there really?
No.
You've still got the 80s joke mentality, I think.
Well, it is. Well, the last time I saw Chantal in Ball, she actually grabbed me by the Cobblers. I was getting my shoes repaired.
It's like one-liners.
That was an absolutely bloody good Cobblers.
Well, thank you. It was, wasn't it?
I had a pair of winkle pickers that I got especially tipped there.
Did you really?
Winkle pickers. How wonderful.
He used to cut my keys for me, you know.
My mum used to call him Teeth on Wheels.
Teeth on Wheels? Well, that's an endearing memory, isn't it? Where did you get your winkle pickers? Teeth on Wheels? Yes.
I don't know what you guys are talking about anymore.
No, we don't either. We don't either. That's why it's Cobblers, Alistair.
It is. We're just talking Cobblers. Listen, when we get to the next chat, it would be nice. We may try and find some other people from your past, if that's all right, Paul.
As long as I don't get rearrested.
Rearrested?
Yeah.
Yes. You've had a little bit of that in your life, haven't you, Paul?
I've had let's say I've had a colourful past.
You have. And you know what? I think in a way, your colourful past is part of you.
Yes.
It's totally about addiction.
Yes.
And once you can sort that out, you're on the way to finding a better path. I suspect. I mean, you know, that's what I see in you, even in the last 6 months or so. You've been so much more able to talk about all the things that were, you know, part of your past, which potentially you're not so proud of.
No. Well, we've spoken about things I said that, well, I wouldn't repeat. Yeah, and I trust you enough to have that conversation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
that is all part of my personal therapy.
Yeah. I think you know that's also, and I think Chantal will agree with me that that's exactly why your vulnerability is very attractive. It's very engaging because actually you tell us so much about what we feel, and we aren't necessarily capable of saying it ourselves.
Can I say though, to my detriment, I am too open sometimes, and I do say too much.
Well, you've got terrible jokes, but that's all right.
Well, thank you, Alistair. Thank you for taking the time to comment. and I nearly said that, to be fair.
To be fair. See, we're all doing it now, to be fair.
Yes.
To be sure.
Well, it's better than Alistair's not joke. That's the worst dad joke I've ever heard. I've tried to get it out of a cracker.
Oh, come on. That's my only joke.
Well, don't stick to the photography, Alistair.
What is it?
You don't want to know? Honestly, trust me.
Now, come on, Paul. Come on, Paul. I admitted to you that
One,
I only had one terrible joke, and it was from the knock knock era of jokes. Do you remember? It was always the mummy, you know, what's for supper? Get out of the oven. That sort of rubbishy jokes that used to go on. And the knock knock joke was, and you laughed heavily. You really laughed.
you mean?
Guttural laughter. You did when I
I
told
laughed
you.
because I didn't realise it was so stupid, but there you go, Alistair.
Do you want to hear it, Chantal?
Yes, please.
All right. The era of the knock knock jokes.
Go on then.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Sonia.
Sonia who?
Sonia Foot, I can smell it.
Can we edit out my cringe there, please? Just for professional.
I'm sorry, Chantal is laughing.
No, well, I've had it before, that's the
Oh,
thing.
God.
And Paul, you
That's too daft to be true.
it's
To be
too dark.
sure.
To be sure, to be fair.
Oh dear.
There you go. A bad joke can go very far, especially if it's your only one.
Correct. No, it's very good, Alistair.
It's the way I tell them.
Yeah, write it down for dinner parties. It'd be great.
Well, some of the ones you tell them.
In fact, when me and Chantal come down for a dinner party, you take us to a vegetarian or vegan meal, you can save that joke for the rest of the participants.
I might have to write it down.
Yes. We'll promise to laugh the next time, Alistair.
Tell me, Paul, did you you mentioned vegan there, which simply, I mean, we're not going to get onto the boring vegan conversation, but I'm vegan, and still am. I'm only vegan from.
That's the Nordic edition of it, Chantal. Vegan.
I'm vegan.
Yes.
We did try to get Paul onto vegan.
So that's what that is, by the way.
Have you stuck to your vegan diet, Paul?
And yes, you'll be proud of me. Today, I was in receipt of a special delivery
of vegan food.
Cheese. It wasn't one. £20 worth of vegan cheese.
Of vegan cheese.
I was stocked up on vegan cheese.
Yeah, but why?
I don't know, really. To be fair, it just don't sound good at the time. But I'm trying to get a lot more vegan stuff into my diet because it's healthy. I'm trying to lose weight, and by cutting down on eating stuff like red meat, it's going to help.
But you know what? I think we've often talked about this, Paul, because one of the things you said to me on the very first day you came on was, you know, your trips out of your chair were to the fridge and back, and you were very concerned about your lack of exercise and everything else. And, you know, we decided that there wasn't going to be any talk of diets or anything. It was just going to be talks of lifestyle and what made you feel good and everything. So, you know,
and then you got in touch with the Sergeant Major.
Well, yes, we did some exercise, didn't we, at one stage? And
we did.
I think I gave up. Was that right?
You gave up. I carried on to my detriment.
You did.
Oh, I did feel obliged, Alistair, as you did help me out with that. Bless you.
Well, do you know what? I mean, you know, you do have to exercise, but ultimately, I think what you found is a good old walk down to the river is as good as anything.
Yeah,
and it's great to get some fresh air anyway. So yeah, you know, we all find our things to do. So Chantal, are you feeling well?
Yeah, not too bad. I would say it's still a work
in progress.
Yeah. I think so much has changed for me during lockdown. And the only thing that's really stayed pretty constant is I have a horse. So that horse has kept me quite sane. In fact, that horse has kept me more than sane. That horse has given me a reason to get up every day and be purposeful every day. So
it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think that, you know, certainly I wonder whether the animals have had a good deal out of this. Certainly dogs have had
I
good
think they've had
feedback.
a better deal than we have. I think any
Yeah.
domesticated animal has had, well, I guess if it likes interacting with a human, that is.
Yeah.
That it's, I've inherited a stray cat, which has been nice. My cat died last November. He had to be put to sleep. So to have inherited a stray during lockdown has been an absolute, I would say I asked for it. I prayed for something. And a stray arrived, so I was quite chuffed with that.
I want a cat.
Are you sure?
I'm not responsible enough, but I want a cat. I have to borrow everybody else's cats.
What do you mean borrow them? Do you...
Well, when I speak to my friend Julie Kathleen Hardle, you know Julie,
Yeah.
I talked to her cat, Florence.
Oh, I've met Julie, and Florence didn't like me.
No, well, he didn't hang around for long, did he?
I can't loan you my cat because it's not mine.
And when I speak to my friend Lisa, her cat's called Cat, which is the laziest cat name in the world. Right, I tend to talk to the cats more than the ladies.
Yeah, but they know you now. They like coming to chat to you through Zoom calls. When I tried to get Lisa and Florence to chat, I mean, Florence came, looked at me, and ran away. I mean, it was embarrassing.
Well, I can't really comment on that, to be fair. Perhaps if you'd have wore those cat ears I sent you and that little nose thing, you'd have been all right.
They never arrive, Paul. They never arrive. Goodness. I wouldn't have known what to do with them.
Oh, Chantal, I'm just going to drop a quick one in here. Don't forget Alistair's birthday is the 4th of November.
Oh, right, okay.
Yes, okay. But if you see me before him, I'll have the birthday kiss and I'll pass it on.
Oh, okay.
Okay, fair enough.
Paul, Chantal, the stream is coming to an end. I tell you what, let's carry on chatting, and we will put out a second conversation of Talking Cobblers another time. Thanks both for now, and we'll see you all soon.